and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Yeah.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another session of our We to Our Libraries Movement platform, or the podcast. You might want to call it. It has been a while since we kind of stream our episodes. But tonight we want to take a deep dive into a topic here that is, again, like we always said, is poignant, is very important. I think it's timely. And so we want you to, for the most part, sit back, relax, and join us as we take you on this ride. We see this as a pilgrimage tonight. This is a topic that, I think for the most part, it's going to be an eye-opener. As you can see on screen, our title here is Africa's Intertestamental Era, Awakening Moral Consciousness and the Honest Voice. Again, Africa's Intertestamental Era, Awakening Moral Consciousness and the Honest Voice. So again, as a way of trying to get us back together here as we watch this all-important streaming session, I ask that you now begin to share the show. This is just going to pretty much be a form of teaching, and the reason why I want to use this particular platform and this opportunity to do so is because of the many events that have been going on or occurring in the country, and not only in Liberia but also the continent. Let me not say the country. So let's do this. Bear with me. There will be a few interruptions here tonight, but hey, we'll make it happen. Again, good evening, Africa. Good evening to the diaspora, and a powerful, I'll say, revolutionary welcome to every single listeners tuning in to the We Too podcast. I'm your host, as usual, C.I.E. Williams. Our title for tonight, I want to make it formal. I know I've already done that. Africa's Intertestamental Era, Awakening the Moral Consciousness, and the rise of the Honest Voice. That's exactly what we need with everything else that's happening around the continent. Also, the fact that we say that this is the platform here, kind of zooming on Liberia, but we cross border and we want to make sure that we include Africa. So tonight we need to have an uncomfortable, unfiltered, and deeply necessary conversation with all of us. This could be a dialogue. If I had some panelists here, unfortunately we don't have panelists, but just now take a moment and begin to share the light. Look around us here. Look at the state of Liberia. Look at the state of a great continent. We are living in what theologians call the intertestamental period. This year's of agonizing silence. We see what's going on in South Africa, what's going on in the DRC, what's going on in Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia. I mean, all over Africa, there has been and there is a whole lot that's going on. And now, in biblical time, we know there's a period between the Old and New Testament. That period, that gap in between, we'll refer to as the intertestamental time. And I think if we can bring this into contemporary context, and then try to align it or tie it with biblical history, we'll kind of see that similarity, because there is a gap here, and we need some type of voice, and not only a voice, but a revolutionary leader, an actor who will be able to emancipate us. And we ourselves, a few of us definitely can make this happen if we had, for the most part, if we are honest, if we're intentional, if we're selfless, not selfish. I believe that we will be able to pull this off. Um, it is a dark, painful wilderness between an old era that has passed and a deliverance that has not yet arrived. We can say that. And I know one may want to argue that, but it's a fact. We celebrated the euphoria of 20th century independence. We cheer for the flag. We wept to the national anthems, but we woke up the next morning still wearing economic chains between uh, flag monsters have honest voice, a collective reason inside the silence. We are, and let's dive into the marrow. Now, I went ahead and actually, dissected this episode into segments. So our very first segment here, which of course I will call part one, the marrow, facing ourselves, facing our self-inflicted wounds. It's happening because, see what we're doing to ourselves. People who have the same hues as us, have the same melanin as us. What we are doing to our own kind. What's happening in South Africa, for example, the xenophobic behavior, the Afrophobia tendency that's being exhibited. That's something that we have to look at. So the truth here is we cannot fix what we refuse to name. Tonight, we must hold a mirror up to our own faces and look at the bleeding wounds we are inflicting upon ourselves. We blame the West, we blame history, but we must also look at what we have become. So I want you to sit back again, like I said, and let's take a real deep dive into this episode tonight. Now, one, the in the Democratic Republic of Congo, we see the internal killings and crippling insecurity in Nigeria. We see the localized violence in our African history. And with that said, he who weaponizes brotherhood for bloodshed has already sold his own soul to the merchant of his oppression. Again, I want to say that he who weaponizes brotherhood for bloodshed has already sold his own soul to the merchant of his oppression. I hope tonight's episode will actually make a difference as you and will speak to your moral conscience. We are doing ourselves exactly what the colonial powers used to do to us. We have become our own overseers. Now let's look at the xenophobia and Afrophobia tendency. It is a tragedy, right, of the highest order when an African crosses a border on their own continent, a border they did not draw, only to be met with hatred, violence, and rejection by their own brothers and sisters. How can we claim to be free when we hate, the very skin we live in? That's a great question, a deep question that I think we need to ponder over. And it's a fact, we're killing ourselves. I mean, there has been series of episodes in the past where we talked about, how the continent itself was this one big fat land. And, and you know, the, I believe 1884 and 1886 implementation. Now, there is an indictment on not only our young folks, not only our grown-ups, but even on the unborn ones, our unborn babies. There is an indictment, and so this is why we want to this particular segment I title the generational indictment. Our current politicians or political system is intentionally designed to keep the poor poorer, while a tiny elite minority boards or hoards the wealth of the land. But the truth, heartbreak here that I want you to see, elements of our youth, the very future of this continent, are being co-opted into this corrupt cycle. They have become the cheap folk soldiers for the status quo instead of the agents of disruption. They are selling their birthright for a bowl of political porridge. Can you imagine that? This is what we're doing to ourselves. And so if you have tuned in, you're watching the We Do Our Libraries Movement platform or podcast, or many might want to call it, I'm your host, as usual, C.I.E.T. Williams. This is the platform where we speak to and for the masses. We say we're not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers, but rather we say we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Let's look at this other segment, which of course I think is also poignant. Resource exploitation and mob justice. While our so-called leaders sign away our gold, oil, our diamonds, and our timbers to foreign interests for pennies on the dollar, our marginalized citizens on the ground are left with nothing. And what happens when the legal system becomes a luxury only, right? The rich can afford. The poor resort to brutal mob justice. We burn a man for stealing a phone. Why? The man who stole the national budget rides past in a bulletproof convoy. I want to read this, I want to restate this. And this is very important. I think I have to reiterate this. We burn a man for stealing a phone. I saw that just several days ago. Why? The man who stole the national budget, the country's budget, rides past in a bulletproof convoy. Who's going after him? He's hiding from his own wrongdoing. Now, the core question here that I want to ask here tonight, as we take a even deeper dive into this particular episode tonight. When did we lose our Ubuntu? That Asian sacred understanding that I am because we are. And this is why the We Do Our Libraries movement, fostered. I'm only doing good if you are doing good. And I think it's something that we all should strive, to really take into consideration. to practice, to ensure is our tradition, is our culture, so that it becomes a fabric of everything that we do as a people. That communal togetherness, because if one is affected, all is affected. How do we become so comfortable with the suffering of our neighbors? Morehouse College, former president Benjamin Elijah Mays, who served the University for a little over 30 years. He once said, speaking to a group of college students, that it would not be sufficient for Morehouse College to produce just clever graduates, but rather produce individuals who could be sensitive, or who would be sensitive to the wrongs, the sufferings, and the injustices of society, those who are willing to accept responsibility for those wrongs and correcting them. Those are the kind of individuals that we want. So now, tonight, part 2, the We Too alternative, the blueprint for the dawn. And I think this is very important because, a lot of times we come here and we do these criticism, and sometimes it's very constructive. And the truth here is that, as we, we take from one of our, our mentors, Dr. Richard Rickey, who once said that criticism is the price you pay for leadership. And the day you are unwilling to be criticized is the day you are unfit to lead anybody. So I think we must be open to criticism. Now, besides, We Too movement normally, as we go ahead, we propagate our messages, and we highlight these ills that we have observed. We want to make sure that we, bringing forth or suggesting or proposing some alternatives. So this is the We Too alternative, which is actually a blueprint for the dawn. The We Too movement does not just sit in the dark and complain about the lack of light. We offer a blueprint for the dawn. To break out of this intertestamental wilderness, we must return to a radical, modernized Pan-Africanism. Again, I want to reiterate that as well. To break out of this intertestamental wilderness, we must return to what? To a radical, modernized Pan-Africanism. What's happened to us? Have we lost it? Today, when one is killing the other, and then there's the whole group of people that are standing there, just filming. We need a fundamental shift. It's critical, and I think it's very, very important. It's very, very important that we do this. It's critical that we do that, and this will be the pathway I mean, to also live for Pan-Africanism. So let's look at this segment titled From Political Messiahs to Collective Accountability. Stop waiting for a single political savior to ride in and rescue Liberia or Africa. The Redeemer we need is not one man or one woman. The Redeemer is the awakening collective consciousness of the people. And this is why We Too movement continue to espouse. That's why we say that the problem that the country is faced with, and now we also see even the continent is affected by this. I think it's the quality of person that the country or the continent has produced and is still producing. Think about the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, the late Kwame Nkrumah, who once said that the independence of Ghana was nothing without the independence of the rest of Africa. This is the kind of, idea that we must push forth. And so this is why the We Too movement continue, to resound this, to reiterate this, to amplify this, to promote this. The book says that faith comes by hearing and hearing. And so this is why we have no limit. We're going to continue this work. We're going to be intentional about this work. This is not as leaders and those who will step into leadership. I just use the president is to ensure that everyone is given equal opportunity, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So now, the We Too path, we must aggressively deselect corrupt leaders. We must build institutions where integrity is the baseline, not the exception, and where accountability is absolutely non-negotiable. With that, I'd like to jaywalk to our next segment here, our next point for this segment: economic Pan-Africanism and resource sovereignty. Now, let's get one thing straight. Africa is not poor. Like I said, Kwame Nkrumah did say that Africa is not poor. I speak as though he's here, but it is the Africans that are poor. So if we were to even look at it in the context of Liberia, Liberia is not poor. It is a Liberia. I think Liberia has enough that can sustain, the 5 million plus population that she has right now. So we have a moral responsibility, especially for those of us who have seen the light. Unfortunately, again, we go back the quality of persons that the country continued to produce who have not been taught knowledge of self, who have not been taught, to go back and shy away from the presuppositions, what they've been taught, to learn those things. Because what has become the norm in Liberia and in Africa, the ideology of trying to amass wealth, that who we are, has to do with our wealth, has to do with how much money we have in our bank account, what we wear, where we live, and all of that. We've swayed from the truth. That is to ensure that those of us who have come up will reach back and bring the rest up as well. It is only lonely at the top if we take no one with us. What becomes of the future of the children that we're having now? What's the future of the unborn ones? What lesson are we teaching? It's important. It's very important. It's very important. Again, I say, Africa is not poor. Africa is being poorly managed. That's the problem. And aggressively plundered. The We Too path, again, suggests we must champion the processing of our raw material within Africa. In Liberia, no more exportation or no more exporting raw cocoa, crude oil, rubber, or our little lithium that we have. Just to buy what? Buy them back. As chocolate, petrol, tires, and batteries. Because when they take our resources, they go and they process them to bring them back to us. We have to pay astronomically high. We pay probably 15 times what they pay. for our raw rubber that they took when we could be manufacturing rubber. Now, yeah, if we can grow rubber, then we can manufacture tires. If we have steel, if we have iron ore, then definitely we can build cars. We can build planes. You know, we have the rainforest. Oh yeah, we can produce our own timbers. Everything that we need can be built in Liberia. That way, it also improves the economy, create jobs and opportunity. You know, and our people will be able to meet that even the very first level of needs: food, clothing, and shelter. We must demand that African leaders from, unified bargaining blocks. We must demand that African leaders form this. We have to form this bargaining block. We're all sync. We're together, working together, excuse me. We must negotiate global trades. That's exactly it. I mean, those trade deals as equal. Now, where we are subservient to the West, we have the raw material. We have the resources. We shouldn't be beggars. Holding out tin cups. We have the resources. We should be making the decisions. We should be making the decision in that boardroom. Because we have it. We're the owners of the resources. We can build factories, invest in agriculture, all mechanized farming. We can do it. Even without construction, because we have the resources. We can educate our people. I don't want to divert. And I want to stay on our topic tonight, because sometimes I have the tendency. So if you're tuning, you can try to share this live with as many people as possible. Again, you're watching the We Too All Liberation Movement platform. Tonight, we went ahead for the very first time. We are actually testing from our New England studio. This is just a test, but we wanted to. We thought that this particular topic is timely. Africa's intertestamental era. And this is exactly the time that we find ourselves, between our old and our new. We need a voice. We need to hear from the sovereign one who is in us, so that we can live our fullest while we're here. Look at how people now, we're suffering from the remnants of apartheid. And that leads me to my third point here: eradicating borders of the mind. We're stuck in the box. Xenophobia and Afrophobia are nothing but smoke and mirrors used by failing politicians to distract you and me from their governance failure. They continue to fail measurably. Trump would say they fail, bigly. Failing in every capacity. They're stealing, they're embezzling, the Englishman would say. They want us to blame our brothers, sisters. They want you to blame your brother from another African country, so you don't look at the politician who's stealing your resources, who's stealing the future of our children, who's stealing the future of our unborn babies. What happens to them? We too path. We must launch a cultural renaissance. We must teach true African history, solidarity, and share destiny in our schools. And this is why on our show, we we had a show title, and I think we had a nice discussion where, our week two contributor, the great Nathaniel Hara and Dr. Josephine Tingba-Kimi, and we had this topic title, Reclaiming the Educational System of Liberia, bridging culture, tradition, global competence. We need an educational system that can be customized to fit our domain. We're not Westerners. We're Africans. We have our dialects. We can teach them in our school. English is not our first language. How do we overcome our pre-ideological, those presuppositions? Overcoming our presuppositions, what we have been taught. We have neglected our own. So we need to go back to the drawing table, and then we say we don't want to sound redundant. We invented the alphabet. The very first university. We've always said it, and we want our kids to know that. Again, we're asking that we launch a cultural renaissance. The new Liberia, new Africa. Africa is on the rise. We see what's going on in Burkina Faso. Right? In the South Sahel. And we can do that. If Europe could build a European Union out of the bloody ashes of two devastating wars, I think Africa can. We must dismantle artificial borders that divide us. This is the time for us to do that. Again, if Europe can do it, they can create the European Union. They had two devastating world wars. Excuse me. So Africa has the potential to do that too. We can do it. We are fearless people. We're powerful people. Every time you see yourself, Maya Angelou once said, she said, every time you see me, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And so for those of you who are tuning again tonight, you're watching the We To Our Librarians Movement platform. This is what we do. We bring truth, we speak truth. We're here to we speak to, and we say for the masses. We're not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers, but rather we say we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. So as we come to a close here, let's look at part 3 of this episode tonight, the call to action. I always do that. The manifesto for the new African. The manifesto for the new African. So now I want to say today to every youth listening in Monrovia, in the counties, across West Africa and across the globe, that is the global Black diaspora. Tonight, in your eviction notice, I'll say again, tonight is what? Is your eviction notice from complacency. We had a show one time. Why is it that Liberian men? Because it was in women. The complacency crisis. I think we're so comfortable. Paul, in biblical time, cautioned us to make every effort, not falling short, to reach the mark. We have a crown above our heads that we all got to grow tall enough where we have the ability to say, let there be, and there will be. We can call things into existence. We say, let there be light, and there will. We can do all things to the sovereign one who lives and dwells in us, but we have been lied to. We have been lied to. So it's time now for us to unveil the truth. Tonight is your eviction notice for complacency. You can be anything if you want. Doesn't matter who's your parent, or you know what I mean, where you came from, what tribe you are, what religion you are. You can be anything and everything if you put your mind to it. So as we conclude, as we bring this life to a title close, refuse to be bought. Reject the crumbs offered by corrupt politicians to maintain their wealth. That's exactly what they're doing. It's an indictment to keep you poor, to keep the poor poor, and the have. I don't call them rich. You know what it means to be wealthy? To be wealthy is not to have monetary acquisition. No. Rich to be rich is a relative term. Because if you have all the wealth, you have all the money, and you lack integrity and morality, what are you? That's your humanness. That's what it means to be human. To live a righteous life. And that is to treat your neighbors as yourself. To heal the sick and raise the dead. To speak for the voiceless. To ensure that everyone reach their full potential. When we are on the continent and we're exploiting our people of the resources that we have, and then those people that are there exploiting our people, see what they're doing on the continent. See the waste, the environmental waste. It's impacting our people, our waterways, the surface water, the groundwater, the storm water. See the tilling, storing facility that they have, discharging of the waste all over the place. Our people are dying from different types of diseases. Choose restoration over retaliation. We have to be restored. We have people of moral virtue. We heal from the lineage and legacy of incredibly great men and women who walked the planet Earth. We are the father and mothers of civilization. Never see yourself any lesser than anyone else because of the melanin of your skin. Be not conformed to the things of this world, but rather ye be transformed by the renewing of the mind. And so as we close, speak truth. You and the both of us, all of us, we must become the honest voice. And we can say, I'm just saying collectively, we can say voices in our marketplaces, or the marketplace, at our universities, the church, the mosque, everywhere. Elementary school, primary schools, government offices. We have to be collectively the voice, collective voice of truth. I caution all of you tonight, as we close on this, thought-provoking topic, Africa's intertestamental era. This is a moral call to action. It is. It's a timely topic, and I hope tonight's topic resonate with all of you. Again, as we close tonight's episode of the We Too Movement podcast, I want to leave you with the words of the great ancestral wisdom that new colonialism has tried to desperately bury, to suppress, and to make us forget. We should not forget this proverb as I conclude here. It's an old proverb that reminds all of us, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. For too long, our leaders have tried to go fast alone, raising the foreign banks with our collective wealth, leaving the masses behind. Neocolonialism thrives because we are fractured, we're broken, fragmented, disjointed. It feeds on our division. It grows fat off our self-hatred. But when we stand together, when we are united, rooted in a communal tradition, that communal tradition of Ubuntu, the very system of the colonial master, the assistance of oppression, I'll tell you, must crumble. The intertestamental silence is over. That gap of being quiet, not being able to speak, is over. The honest voice has now emerged. It's going to the top. We are the ones we have been waiting for. No one else. We have to do it. We have no choice. So this concludes tonight's episode. Again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. Keep the fire burning. Keep your consciousness awake. And remember, we are because you are. This is C.I.T. Williams signing off for the We Too Liberia's Movement podcast, We Too Movement platform. Thank you very much for watching. Good night, Liberia. Good night, Africa. Power to the people. I look forward to an exciting show here coming up, hopefully next week. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And I know that, as we come, pretty close to our lunching here, we just pretty much slated for July 11th. We look forward to seeing all of you. We've been doing this work now for at least pretty close to about 3 years this particular month. There's a lot of topics that we still have, and we have been encouraging people. We have our manifesto that we want to share with you if you want to be a part of this. We want to build that foundation, starting with the topic, knowledge yourself. How can they know until they have a teacher? That is the need for a teacher. Overcoming, presupposition. Why is it that the growing number of churches in Liberia has not translated into social and economic change? There's a variety of topics, ranging from philosophy to politics, economic, entertainment. You name it, the whole 9 yards. We Too Liberians Movement transcend time and space. So we look forward to seeing you at our event. We've placed our Save the Date flyers, and we're putting out a lot of flyers. We have been talking to a whole bunch of young men and women behind the scenes that will be in attendance. And we believe that this movement is pretty much a movement that you have never seen in the history of Liberia. We want to ensure that each child, each individual come up, has equal opportunity, social justice, equality, with quality education, all that stuff. This is why, we a lot of times we talk about the illusion of liberty. Are we really free? It's like, are we free? We're not free. So with these types of conversation, I can assure you that our people will be pretty much moving from the dark and they'll see the light. At this point, the dumb will be able to speak and the deaf will hear, and we're giving sight to the blind. And so we'll be able to maximize our potential so that we can reach our full and truest potential. As usual, I've been your host tonight, C.A. Williams. I am actually anchoring my New England, studio here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys here next Wednesday. A man worst enemy is a member of his household. How can they know until they have a teacher? There's another topic I want to close here with. Who's willing to carry the weight? We the movement is willing to carry the weight. See you next time. Same place, same time. Have a good one. God bless you. Bye for now.
Simple life is all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Simple.